Hi guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over with you some pretty popular fantasy books that I just fucking DNF'd. First up, I have Blood Jewels, the first book in the, what the fuck is the, Daughter of Blood, the first book in the Black Jewel series by Anne Bishop. Now, the first thing of Anne Bishop's I read was this book, Written in Red, which is an urban fantasy, and I fucking loved it. I binged this subsequent 3 or 4 books immediately. Within a weekend, I just powered through a bunch of these books. But I was waiting for book 5 to come out at this time, so I was like, let me go read. Oh, she has a fantasy series, so let me go check that out. And then I read it and was like, dear God, what the fuck is this? Reason being, that book is supposed to be set in this fantasy world where there's this new queen who's supposed to be a witch. She's supposed to be the prophesied solver of all of their woes, but she's really young, so basically whoever controls her will be the one to control the kingdom until she becomes of age, and potentially after she becomes of age if they really have her under their thumb. Now what it read like was a bunch of grown ass men with pedo tendencies toward this little girl, prepubescent, who was 11, 12, 13, or 10 or something, and it was just very fucking creepy. I could not get with it. I don't know why it has a 4.11 star average on Goodreads, because it just creeped me the fuck out, and I couldn't do it. Not even Cushill's Legacy or the Cushill books. There was just a scene, it started with the girl being a prostitute at a young age, and it didn't sit well with me, but that was still that character's actions and choices. This one, it wasn't the character's actions that creeped me out, or the character's job or profession or whatever the hell. It was the actions of the other grown characters. They were just there were weird, odd romantic overtones, and people obsessed with this little girl in creepy ways, and I just, no, why? Next up, I have The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I don't think that's how you say his first name. I'm not sure. Now, this is a book that was originally, this is the part of the Witcher series. Yes, this series bred the Witcher video games. Originally published in Polish, and then they were later translated to English. Now, this first one, I thought it was going to be the first book in the series, but it's actually kind of like an anthology of short stories. Yes, Geralt is in them, but it's bunch of different stories, not one consecutive thing. Now, I haven't got far enough in it to know if all of these stories tie together, but I do know that book 1 isn't until 2 books after this, so I don't know. I think the second one is Blood Elves, or whatever. I'm confusing it. You'll have to look up the order of the books. At any rate, it's not that I didn't like this. Plus, I think there are retellings. The very first story in here is a Beauty and the Beast retelling with Geralt in it. What the hell to the fuck yes? Or Sleeping Beauty. I think it was Beauty and the Beast. I can't even remember. The only reason I just really couldn't get in it is just something about it felt very stilted to me, and maybe it's just because I tend to not really like anthologies. I can't read anthologies of short stories straight through. I have to pick and choose the stories I want to read and jump around. But when I started this book, it was for a Witcher series read-along that another booktuber was hosting, and I needed to read them all through for that month, and I just couldn't do it. I don't like to read anthologies like that, so I don't know if that was it or something else. I did try to listen to the audiobook. The audiobook for these books are fucking amazing, but just trying to read it, I just could not. I couldn't do it. I'm not sure what it is. Now, this one isn't a DNF because I didn't like it. Maybe it just was the wrong time for the mood I was in, or it's just the wrong thing. It's the wrong style of book for me to try to sit and read in one setting, because I don't like reading short stories by the same author like that, just back to back to back. I'm maybe not an anthology kind of a bitch. Then I have The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. Now, this book was recommended to me, it's supposed to be really great. There's movies about it. This edition is supposed to be pretty cool. It's supposed to be great epic fantasy, and it's about exactly what the title sounds like. It's The Last Unicorn, and he really ain't doing much of shit. That's not my type of fantasy. It's one of those books where you need to be more overtaken with the writing and the imagery, and not really the plot or what the characters are doing, because they're not really doing much of that. So it'd make a good kids movie, I think. It probably is a kids movie. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't I got far enough in. I was and I started flipping through it this. It's are they still not really doing much of shit? like there's the magician and other creatures and Mommy Fortuna, like that threw me off. Like what, Mommy Fortuna? No. Then I have The Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. This is the first book in the Broken Empire, I believe, trilogy. Now, I love these because if you just the story and the cover art alone seem to have told a story. So this is Prince of Thorns #1, King of Thorns, and then Emperor of Thorns. So the first book starts off with this character. He's 14 at the time, and this is supposed to be like his coming of age, like coming into his whatever the fuck he's gonna be. I have a migraine, so my vocabulary is even shittier than usual, so I apologize. It's also why it's kind of dark in here and the light is up here. I refuse to sit with that shit in my face when my head aches this badly. Anywho, he was a privileged and royal child, and he turns into this kind of darker person with like a darker personality, even though they said he's charming and immoral. There's nothing charming about this motherfucker. So it says he's from a privileged royal child raised by a loving mother. He became the Prince of Thorns, a charming, immoral boy leading a grim band of outlaws in a series of raids and atrocities. Now, at the beginning of the book, he has the ability to master the living and the dead, but there's still one thing that puts a chill in him. Returning to his father's castle, he has to confront the horrors from his childhood and carve himself a future with all hands turned against him. And that's really all that you know that the story is about. But you jump right into it. I think it's prologue. I don't think it's chapter 1. I think is it chapter 1? Yeah, it's chapter 1. And he's 14 years old, and he's on this raid with these other grown criminals, and he's basically like taunting people like, hey, you hide any daughters? You better not hide them, because it's going to be worse on them if we find them and you hid them, whether or not you just give them to us now, and then there might be something of them left over by the time we're done. And he's 14. I'm good on that. It just is weird. I don't like being in a male protagonist's head. I don't like books in male protagonist's point of view a lot, especially by male authors, because sometimes there's just like too much of that male mindset, like stereotypical male mindset rather, that I don't like. For instance, in Beast Made of Night by Tochi Onyebuchi, it was the same thing. Now, I read the arc. I don't know how much of it got saved, but the main character was just a teenage boy, and he acted like a very stereotypical teenage boy, but that's not someone whose point of view I wanted to read in, because he was very much like, everything I do is badass, and all these bitches love me, and I'm like, you just met this bitch. She don't know nothing about you. Calm down. Yeah, why wouldn't she love me, though? His vibe was very that, and it was very annoying to me. So already going into it and then having that kind of like incident right in the beginning, like, this doesn't bode well. And other people have said that he is very dark. It's grim dark, but it's like past that. And so it's like for the same reason that I wouldn't have finished Black Leopard Red Wolf had I not had an arc of it, but have just like been borrowing it. No, I wouldn't have finished it because I don't like that type of shit. I like dark stories, but I don't want to be in the head of the person who's doing all of this bullshit. Like, I want to be in the head of the person who's in that dark world and doing what they can to get through it, but I don't want to be in the head of the person that's fucking raping people. I'm picky like that. Then we got this shit right here, which is The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is part of the Dark Tower series. It's the first book. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody has said don't read the first book. The first book is the worst, but I can't skip books in the series like that. I mean, I can, but I don't want to if I don't have to. Now, back to that later. This shit reads like a spaghetti western if it was directed by Quentin Tarantino. The main character is very much a mix of Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, but with like the asshole-ish of both of them. Like the worst characters, like personality-wise, that those two have played, that like wrap them up together, and he's him. He's also a giant walking fucking spaghetti western trope. Tall, silent, moody, mistreats women, but at the same time he's supposed to be so like seductive and attractive to females that he walks into a room and men are like, Becca, go in the house, like hiding their daughters and wives and shit. But he was also a flat ass, boring ass character. I only got 33 pages into this mug before I was like, oh, that's enough. So I started trying to read the others, and something told me to flip through them, and being Stephen King, of course I saw like F-bombs, like the homosexual slur, and all kind of other shit. And I'm like, I just really just picked a random page like 3 books down the line. I ain't got time for this shit, King. Get your shit together. Always something racist or homophobic. He's just always got slurs in there. You don't need that to make like an asshole character, and I really get tired of this shit. And I don't care when the book was published. I talked about this before. I don't give a fuck if it's 30, 40, 50 years old. Like, if that's as creative as you can get, that's the only thing you got that identifies your character as an asshole, your imagination is a little lacking. Now, maybe he does write some fucked up shit, so his imagination is not completely lacking. But, again, like, maybe it's something in your vision of your character. I don't know what it is, but show me in other ways that he's an asshole without him calling somebody an N-word. Anyway, I don't know that I'm going to read that series. Then we have Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. This author is a douchebag, by the way. Complete and utter douchebag. I think he looks like a cheap villain from a Steven Seagal movie. Onward from that, he's a douchebag. Past that, still try to read his book because I had already gotten all of them before I found out he was a complete douchebag. And he is a heavy-handed douchebag because, like, he just beats you over the head with the things he wants you to know. I also don't appreciate authors that, like, bash people who have contributed to their book, and he talks He talks heavy shit about the artist who worked on the covers for his book, old and new, and I just don't have time for that. And he does it publicly. He's just dickhead. Now, the character, like, everybody says, this is like fantasy light. This is for people who want to get into high fantasy. Okay, that may be, but it was a little too basic even for me. Like, the story, one of the characters was particularly interesting. The main character, the guy, I don't know his name. What the fuck is his name? Richard, which is a horrible fantasy name, BT dubs. Richard's a dumbass. I just like, and then everything that he wanted you to know about this book, like the tropes, the themes that he laced through there, he's so heavy-handed with him. It's like beating him over the head, like the difference between good and bad. Like, bitch, you don't have to tell me. I get it. Damn, calm down. And it's just like constant. Just like, do you get it yet? Do you get it yet? Yes, motherfucker. Chill. I couldn't get through like several hundred pages of that shit. What was this book? 500, almost 600 pages. I'm good on that. But I like the covers, even though he's a dick to his cover artist. I think these covers are fabulous. I like old fantasy book covers. I like old book covers in general. So usually if it's a book I like and it's been redone, the older the cover, I want that one. Like you'll see at some point when I do, I'm going to be doing a historical romance video here shortly. I have these old bad covers and they're atrocious and I fucking love them. Next to last, I have The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Everybody fucking loves this series, and I just, for some reason, the first chapter bored me, and I put it down and never picked it back up. It's supposed to be really good. The characters are supposed to be really hilarious, but part of the reason I ended up putting it down is that everybody that wanted to tell me about the book then proceeded to try to read all the funniest bits to me. I'm like, well, I know all the good parts. What the fuck I need to read it for? Not only that, but I don't know. It's just like I just didn't mesh with it very well the first time I tried to read, and it might be because it was immediately after somebody felt the need to tell me why all of the reasons why the book was great. So when you want me to read a book, say, hey, you might like this book because blah 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 blah, and it's about this. Okay, fine, that's all I need. When you want me to read a book and then you potentially say, hey, but look at this cool part and look at this cool part because you're just pushing and you just want me to read it, I now feel like you've told me all the good part of the book. I don't feel any kind of enthusiasm to read it anymore because I won't be surprised by anything. Because, oh yeah, I remember when they told me that line. Well then, I don't need to read it. I'll get to it later. So I've been waiting for that to kind of die off, and also, I don't know, it's just annoying. But it does sound like it's something that's right up my alley. It's like Six of Crows for adults. But, like, those things that I told you about ruined the book, and plus I just didn't mesh with the writing style in the first chapter. Again, it was the first chapter. I didn't give it a chance. I usually try to give it a little bit more of a chance than that, but all of those things just compiled to make me go, nah bro, not right now. Then lastly, I have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now, before you say anything, like, I have to be in the mood for this book because this book is very meandering. Much like American Gods, I just had to have been determined to sit down and read it and have to enjoy it. And while Patrick Rothfuss' writing style is very, very, very good and his prose is flowery without being, like, atrocious and purple, it was his writing, like the way he puts words on paper is just very pretty. The style is gorgeous. Obviously not literally the words on the paper, but he just has this very, like, fantastical writing style that I really enjoy. But again, like, it's like reading a very great writing style in a story that's moving very slow. So at the particular time that I started it, I wasn't in the mood for it, and also I'm like apparently people have been waiting on book 3 for like 76 years or some odd crazy shit like that. It's been like 10 years, but whatever. I'm not in a rush to finish this and be all into it when I know I'm gonna have to wait until Jesus come back before I can read the next book, and by then it's too late. Unless Jesus got a copy he gonna let me borrow, I don't want to get into a series that's got like an open-ended, like we might not finish this. I'm already traumatized from like my favorite TV shows that ended after 1 season or 3 seasons and just never got picked up, so they didn't even get an ending. They like canceled midway because like writer strike, which is what happened with Bionic Woman, or I think it's the Tomorrow People, which I actually really like, had 1 series. This is the sci-fi series about Star-Crossed, I think it was, that I really liked. Most of y'all are probably like, what the fuck are those shows? But anyway, like, all of those shows ended after like 1 season, and I was really into that 1 season, and then like it left off on a cliffhanger, like you'll get the new cliffhanger when the next season starts, and then there was no next season, so like I'm hashtag triggered right now. Can you tell I'm getting all excitable and shit? Anyway, so that's why I'm not really in a rush to read this, but I DNF'd it because at the time I wasn't really in the mood for anything meandering, and much like American Gods, 'tis a big old book, so that's a long time to be meandering through like a lot of stuff, especially even though like I like the way that, quote, the author tells stories. It's great, but again, I just have to kind of be in the mood for it when I tend to like a more action-packed book. Alright, that is the last of the great books that I have DNF'd. There was something else I had to say, but I don't remember. My head hurts really bad, so I'm just gonna awkwardly go because my brain's not functioning and I can't think of anything else. So, high five for getting a video up for what is this, will be 19 days in a row and giving up my writing time to do it. So, I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Hopefully when I go back and edit this, I won't find that I've slurred my words too bad from this migraine, because I have not taken my medication yet, because once I take it, it's going to knock me the fuck out. So, I have to edit this video, then take my meds, then take my ass to sleep. So, good night, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Please hit the little bell notification, because I am finding out that people are still not getting updated to when I post stuff unless they hit the bell, because YouTube algorithms and shit. I know y'all are tired of hearing people say, don't forget to hit the bell notification, but it really helps us out if you do that, because, you know, we would like people to watch our videos, and if you're subscribed, there's still not a guarantee that you're gonna, you know, see all the alerts unless you hit the bell. Anyway, thanks guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.